Hola, Madrid. This is welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. If you guys are new here, don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to uh 3K. Yeah, pick up our sponsors. Manscaped. Go check them out. I'll be at 20 to get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Go check out Fanatics through the link in the description below. Official partners of La Liga and Real Madrid. Go show them some love. Also, if you guys didn't know, now you know this podcast and all the fan cams and everything on this channel is sponsored by the Talksport Fan Network, powered by the fans. Obviously, the biggest sports radio station in the world. Go show their socials some love. But yeah, man, that out of the way, Sahil, talk to me. We're back again. Another post match. It just keeps coming, right? Like we barely get to catch a breather.
Yeah,
Us, the team, it just is a constant assault on our senses. I mean, it's a good thing, right? Like, can you say no to a Madrid game? I certainly can't. That's why we kind of make this happen every 3 days or so. But this game, Mallorca, right? Like we knew what we were getting into even when we boarded the plane a couple of days ago.
yeah,
Um, Mallorca are a team that are what languishing somewhere around mid to top table. They have had a few decent results. They kind of got one over us in our opening match day, and they celebrated it like a win, and deservedly so. Right? We were off it. We were still finding our feet, but this time around, when it comes to what Jan now, that game was in end of August, I believe, or mid August something mid-August. But
yeah,
come Jan, we look a lot more in sync, and we completely steamroll these guys. And we'll get to some of those, mourners that we're gonna touch upon surely. But quick thoughts, man. Initial thoughts, Sahil. One step in the final. I mean, 2 foot in the final, basically.
yeah. Look, one thing is definitely we've come a long way since
Mm.
the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
and big difference between the side that played Mallorca away from home, first game of the season, and the team that has played them in Saudi.
Hmm.
Second thing, obviously, we've gone into the final. We're playing in our third, cup tournament in the past, say, 20 days.
Yeah.
So the schedule has not been easy on us.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think RFEF as well. They made it so that if the game went ended in a draw, it wouldn't go to extra time, and that's obviously looking after the workload of the players.
Straight to
Uh,
pens. Mm.
yeah, straight to pens, it would have gone, and it will if the same thing happens in the final as well. But yeah, that was never going to be a question with the way Real Madrid started the game. And then after the 45th minute, like after the halftime, I think it was clear and obvious who was going to take the lead. It was just a matter of time before we got the goal, and then after Bellingham's goal, I don't think Mallorca were in the game. In fact, they were more in the mental game than the physical,
Yeah.
actual game of
Yeah.
football. So yeah, props to the guys. No injuries. Except I think Germany will be fine. It's a concussion issue and it's been taken
Mm.
off as of the
Jude was
game.
kind of clutching his
He was
hamstring.
limping, but and I know we'd used up all our substitute windows by then, but
Hmm.
I think he would have sat it out. Especially at
Yeah.
2-0, he would have gone off hobbling had it been a severe issue. But I think he'll recover from that. And obviously
Hopefully.
Chouameni as well. I don't think we're too worried about the final, even if Chouameni doesn't make it, because again,
Yeah.
Raul Asensio is shown what he's capable of.
Hmm.
But yeah, Barca in the final again, a replay of last season's Super Copa final.
Last year we completely blew them away, right? Remember?
Yeah,
I hope it's the same thing. But tonight's game, man, like in the first half, we should call a spade a spade. Mallorca had a few decent chances,
yeah,
and
definitely.
like any team coming into any game, they know that yeah, we have a quality. We are gonna eventually make it say right. We're gonna make our feet talk in the end, but we give teams a fair few chances. And on another day, if it was someone else in place of Larin, it would have been a different result because
Yeah, that is true. And
all it took
Mallorca
was one long
definitely,
ball. Mm.
yeah, they made themselves heard in that first half.
Yeah,
I think there was beyond like 25th minute, I think they were benefiting a lot from the start nature of the game.
yeah,
Uh, because they kept making fouls in the middle of the pitch, and that really gave them a boost because they thrive off that sort of game. And also
hmm
they were really hoping to hurt us from set pieces,
yeah,
which again they couldn't, but on another day it could have gone very differently.
mm.
Uh, yeah, in the first half, it was for them. It was just about establishing a presence in a game and breaking down Real Madrid's rhythm. Uh, and we didn't let them in as much as they would have liked to. But also,
Yeah,
again, they went completely quiet in that second half, especially after Jude's goal. So that's
mm.
the best football they'd have played tonight in that first half. And beyond that, it was just antics and more antics.
Yeah. Antics are more antics, and can you really call this gamesmanship? This is borderline pathetic, right?
Yeah,
From grown-ups.
it started
Mm.
off with just Vinicius being riled up by Pablo
Yeah,
Maffei, and there were clear signs of it being an intentional strategy because it
yeah,
started off from the very beginning. It was minute 8, minute 9.
hmm
So you could see that he'd come onto the pitch with clear intentions of bringing Vinicius into the same mindset he had left the pitch in the last La Liga game.
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
he was lucky to not be suspended for more than 2 games.
yeah. Two
Uh,
games.
but again, Vinicius for a while it looked like it was starting to affect his game, and then in the second half
Mm.
he was a completely different player again.
Yeah,
But Maffeo's antics didn't stop at the scoreline. Like he just kept going up on and on about it, and the other Mallorca players joined in, and then the other Madrid players joined in, and by the end of the game it was a mess. It was
mm.
more about everybody than just Maffeo and Vinicius. But yeah, nothing like a good old called like brawl at the end of the game.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, they really like. Is it ADHD? I'm not sure. What is their what is behind all this? Because
Yeah.
man, I used to grow up watching some real men fight it out, but these guys, they just have I think they just have different organs. I mean, I'll be
Mm.
honest. I think we need to kind of ask Mafio and and his likes. What do they have? You know, down there. To be very particularly blunt, because the more I see them, it seems like they're just not just wired differently. They're just uh, they had a different sort of evolution to the ones we underwent.
Yeah.
But that's what the game has come to, and I think we as the audience and a lot of the people who control so much of the refereeing governing bodies all across Europe, especially Europe, has led the game to be like this. Like you could say the Premier League is a bit more street smart in terms of handling situations like these. But yeah, Spain is way 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 behind in that regard. In the Champions League games, when the stakes are high, the players themselves take care of their own head. The policing can be a bit more straightforward there, because you don't really have much uh, room for all these theatrics, to be honest. But yeah.
And add to that
Mm.
the crowd because tonight's game was in Saudi, and if the same thing happens in Mallorca Stadium,
Yeah.
okay, we're looking
Yeah.
at something completely different. Then the crowd
Mm.
gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it from a very different angle then.
Yeah. And it more often than not sways decisions, right? It does
Exactly.
sway.
Exactly.
Like,
From the
uh,
perspective of the referee, he
yeah.
will have thanked the Spanish FA that the game was to be played in Saudi and not in
Mm.
Spain.
Mm.
But this can only be seen as like a deliberate attempt to rile up Vinicius and get the worst out of him. Which
Mm.
again, to an extent, it seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, see, this is the thing, right? Like I've said this. Oh, apparently Fede and Bellingham has had an adductor strain, says Carlo. Hope
Ah,
everything is fine, man. Yeah, these guys, they overwork Bellingham and Fede. I mean, Fede and Bellingham are like irreplaceable in the side. Let's be honest. But yeah, I just wish the minutes are handled better. But we'll get to that. But talking about all these guys, the Maffeos, and the Viniciuses and
the
whatnot.
Whiners.
Oh yeah, the Baianas. Um, hyena, I would like to call him. But the thing is, Vinny basically lets this be a huge um, game plan from our opposition.
Yeah,
It is going to be the case for as long as he keeps um, letting all this stuff outside the game get to him. Because let's be honest, man, the game at the top level has fine margins, right? The we can see the gulf in class when it comes to Mallorca and Madrid, but in a game when it kicks off, you really can't see that because anything can happen, right? If Mallorca gets a 2-0 lead, it's Madrid. We expect ourselves to come back, and like we are known to kind of make the best out of a deficit, right? But when you take other big teams into the equation, football is a game so funny that when at kickoff the teams might be looking a bit lopsided, right? But once the game is in action, anything can happen that can make a particular team get away with the win on
yeah.
a given day. So these guys basically are going to hone into that and let Vinicius make a decision for himself and for his team
Yeah.
in such crucial moments. And like you
Well,
rightly
luckily for
pointed
us,
out.
it worked in our favor, right? So tonight it
Yeah,
didn't really matter in the end because we
yeah.
proceeded to the final anyway.
But he
And
gets taken off, and even from the sidelines, he's at it. Why?
he's at it, and
Why
the
Vinicius?
the assistant coaches have to stop him, and then Carlo
Yeah,
gets involved, and it's a
I've
mess.
always noticed it's Luis Lopez basically dragging him off.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't I
I
don't think
think they should. Yeah,
Francisco gets into the equation, or even Davide. They just aren't in
I
the
think
scene
Davide
because I
did.
think they know.
The same thing happened when they
Mm,
went off in the tunnel at halftime, and Davide was the one who stood up for Vinicius. This is what I read.
mm, mm, mm,
So
mm, mm,
Maffeo
mm,
and
mm.
Vinicius were at it even at halftime, and even when the
Oh,
cameras were away.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that. Okay, okay,
yeah.
right,
There was an
right.
altercation there as well.
Mm,
Davide stepped in, he stood up for Vinicius.
mm, mm, mm. You see, the guys that's like this, like on both sides. I mean, Maffeo is absolutely the scum of the earth. But when it comes to Vinicius, he is our own, right? There is
Yeah,
a limit to how much we will, you know, kind of be microscopic about, any of his antics, because he's one of us. But when it comes to the eyes of the others, right? Like when they look at Vinicius, they'll be like, "Yeah, look at this guy, man. Like he is a wind-up merchant. He is going to
yeah.
wind you up. He's going to make you."
It
Uh,
makes him look bad. Makes him look like a brat on the
this
internet.
this is the honest truth, man. This
People
is the
are
honest truth.
quick to
Mm,
judge, and people
mm.
will, come up with opinions based on 10-second clips,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Well, why
Now,
why
right
why do you do
after,
that? This is negative PR. Negative PR. We don't need it. We don't need it. Like, we already have a lot of
I
a
think
lot of shit
Vin,
sayers. Mm,
Vin has managed to lopside that good old saying of any PR is good PR, but for Vinny
mm.
it just seems so that any PR seems to be negative PR at the moment. You just can't go a month quiet
Yeah.
without hitting the headlines.
I'm not sure, like then there are some people. I mean, Chomini came out and said, Maffeo has a problem. Everybody has a problem with him. I don't know why we are talking about this guy. I mean, they make it an agenda, guys like Maffeo to be the centerpiece of anything that isn't really football. Because when it comes to football, he's a bang average guy, bang average player who just
By the
is
way,
in the mix.
by the way,
Mm,
Messi said he's the most difficult defender he's ever had to face in a one-off game in
my
2018 when
goodness.
he debuted with Girona. against Barca. So Messi, that's what he said. That Maffeo was the most difficult defender he's ever had to face.
Have you seen some of Messi's votes for the Ballon d'Or and whatnot? It's fucking, I'll leave it to the jury to decide. But Messi, I don't know.
Autism chance.
The thing is, these guys, like even Vinicius, they need to completely let this, slide and just get on with the game, because what it takes away is some actual football from the spectacle. And you could see there wasn't any animosity, Sahil. If you looked at some of the others, on both sides, there were a few hugs, there were a few embraces, there were a few wry smiles. And like there wasn't any sort of bad blood when the game kicked off. But this is a thing, right, Sahil? When one guy kicks off, it just bleeds through the team.
Yeah, it does, and it spreads, because even a player like Jude, we've never seen him really complain, and we've seen him as the more mature sort on the pitch. The guy who really lets things slide. But even him, he's getting involved in all these. I know he just sparks it and he walks off the pitch. I know he does that, but we've never seen him go to the referee to this extent before. And correct me if I'm wrong about this.
Yeah, maybe. Like you're right. Like the whole reason why he is kind of tapping the other guy.
Exactly, and I get why a young guy like Raul Asensio coming onto the pitch would want to make leave a mark and make a statement with something like shushing Maffeo. That is, I think at that point in the game, what Asensio did, that gesture was completely warranted for because of Maffeo and the way he was being a dickhead. But Jude was already on a yellow, and we've always seen him as the mature type. So you're right when you say it sort of bleeds into the team, and it's over the other players as well.
That's the thing. It's annoying because we know they can be a lot more stern about how they deal with situations like this, because when the stakes are higher, we don't see any of it. The most we would see is someone basically buying the ref, trying to buy the ref for a pen in a do or die situation, right? That's the most. Because have we seen these players really, do any of these side quests when we're up against it? We focus on the game.
Called cheeky. Beyond that, it's not cheeky anymore. It's borderline just annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What do you think Ancelotti does about this? Like beyond closed doors, do you think he addresses it in a positive way?
No, they don't. They don't address this at all. Okay. They don't. That's what it looks like. I was very honest with Francesco. I did mention after the Valencia game, I told him, yes, we do suffer some lapses in concentration, and like our flanks look like they would crack any moment. But the major concern is what Vinny is basically instigating every second, that he is being on the edge. He just gives off that vibe that he isn't really focused on the game 100%. I was very honest. I told him he should put his team's best interests into his agenda before he goes off on these silly fights. It just isn't healthy. The moment this happens in a big game, I'm pretty sure he's wise enough. All these guys are wise enough. They have a lot more to lose than we do, right? Like when it comes to a big moment, I'm pretty sure they'll put this behind locked doors and kind of case them away. But still, like in these one-off games where stakes aren't really high, this basically feeds the tendency for all these antics to slip into a big game. And the moment
it did feel like Mallorca from the get-go just knew they didn't have enough of a chance to make it to the final.
Yeah,
and also they weren't.
It was lackadaisical, right? Our play was
exactly. They weren't being paid enough to be there either. Because
Mm.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard that they weren't happy with what they were getting to play in the Supercopa,
Okay.
and Madrid and Barca together had to give them 400K
Oh yeah. I
to
mean,
keep them.
Barcelona would need them more than Mallorca, right? But
Yeah, exactly. So it just felt like mm, they were there to pick a fight, and they picked a
yeah.
fight, and they'd go back home happily, and so will we.
100%. 100%. Um, Let me get into a few of the comments before we kind of break down some of
Lamine
the.
Yamal himself is in the comments today.
Oh yeah, he's taking a break from school. Yeah. Oh no, I mean his online classes. He can't go to school because he's in Riyadh. He says get ready Madrid, hat trick incoming. Bring your tissues for Sunday. I hope when you mention tissues, it's for something else. You know, which is the opposite of crying. But Ashik was in the chat. He was mentioning Pablo Maffeo, butthurt because his shenanigans couldn't get anyone ejected from the game. Um, Loza should bury his head in the sand, and there is no lack of it in Jeddah. That's a valid point. Um, I mean, the way Asensio dealt with him is the perfect response. I did mention in our group chat the whole thing was unnecessary because come on, man, get off the pitch and get your recovery programs already because this 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 in its essence itself is a complete distraction, right? Like these 2 weeks or what, like 7-8 days could be used for rest, but instead we travel to Saudi and play these couple of games for what really? I mean, doesn't make sense. Ashik
We
was also
traveled to
mentioning,
Qatar, and then the
hmm,
New Year comes around. We play a couple more La Liga games. We travel to Deportivo Minera,
yeah.
then we come back to Saudi. So it just feels like a whole waste of time. But
Thankfully, Celta is at home, so it's a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah.
Ashik was also mentioning Rudiger, Arda, and Brahim can go do Umrah before the final. We can use the extra divine help. Uh, yeah, I think we'll need it, man. I think we'll need any help, to be honest. Ashik was also mentioning, here comes, no, I don't want to read that. Right. Pablo Maffeo, he says, was born in Barcelona to an Argentinian mother and came through the City Academy. All the stars aligned in some dustbin for this rat. Right. That's interesting. I never knew that about Pablo Maffeo. Um, Ashik was also mentioning Raul Sensio keeps showing his composure and no nonsense leadership on the pitch, even if it's for a short period. Yeah, he just looks like he's very self assured. I like that about the guy. Um, I just hope his iffy past doesn't really come up creeping on him. Because sooner rather than later, it's going to be a talking point, and I
Mm.
hope it doesn't get to his head. It's only a matter of when and not if. Um, and Alaba is back, so I'm not sure how long he's gonna be a mainstay, at least from the bench.
Are we going to be active in the window?
What do you think, Sahil?
Didn't we sign the guy Lamine Fati?
But he is for
Again, yeah,
the
he's for the academy.
he is for the academy. Right.
Yeah, but yeah. Apart from that, I don't think so.
Mm,
I'm
right.
hearing Barca going to lose Araujo though.
That has been on the cards for a long, long time. Long time.
But it might be developing and develop.
Not in Jan, maybe in the summer.
Interesting.
Um,
He was the captain
Rojo,
not long ago.
De Jong, Frankie De Jong, you
Hmm.
know.
I see. Do you think they currently are as strong a team as we faced in the Clasico?
They are essentially the same team. They don't really have
But they
much of
went
a
through a difficult slump in form not long
yeah
ago. They sort
yeah.
of recovered from that, but also not. They're not winning games with the sort of panache that they were before. Like
Mm.
they're just getting by past like 1-2 months. So it'll
No,
be
no, I get it. It's basically the team kind of trying to reset Because let's be honest, when they were on song, Rafinha was on fire.
Yeah.
When Rafinha kind of, had a bit of a, yeah. It didn't really look like Barca could find other heroes among their team, because if Lewandowski and Rafinha don't have a blinder, they look like they they don't have answers at this moment. But it might change. It might change in a Clasico. Anything can happen. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have any premeditated.
I just hope Vinicius again isn't a matter of interest by the end of the game, like especially not like obviously not in a negative light. I don't.
In the Clasico, he's much more calm because there isn't.
It just feels like he doesn't let it get to him as much in the Clasico. It still happens.
Happens, but
Yeah,
it ain't a Mallorca or a Valencia,
Not of yeah.
Yeah. Right. Ashik was also mentioning Vinny's problem is that he'll wind up the crowd and opponents, but he has no skin to take it. He's one of the best, so the crowd and the opponents will target him anyways, but he also riles the crowd up. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I have no idea why we let him rile the crowd up, and then we just completely should advise some players to kind of, stay away from this. I guess it's too personal. It's too personal a subject for these guys to kind of, step in. I do think that's the case. Carlo has a very no hands approach, and I'm pretty sure his staff was also like that 100%, because if they were very upfront and ruthless about it, I'm pretty sure the players wouldn't take to it kindly. It'll be a completely it'll be a complete U-turn from the way they deal things. That's just me. But yeah, moving on. Talking about the game, Rodrigo Sahil. The goal was good, but overall disappointing again. I mean, I expect a lot from him. I just want him to be the face of the team, and he isn't being the face of the team anymore, and that just hurts me.
One or two moves, like apart from that, I feel like he's really struggling to get involved in the game. Like out on that right hand side, he seems isolated because Bellingham, Vinicius, Mbappe. Vinicius knows what he's doing. He's starting moves, hugging the touchline. Bellingham and Mbappe are sort of playing off each other. One makes the run, one plays the pass. Rodrigo, more than anything, I think when he's on the right hand side these days, he seems isolated because one, the ball doesn't go there as much, and two, he's running a lot more without the ball, and people don't tend to notice that.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like Lucas Vazquez has a better impact on the right than Rodrigo. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not like we need anything more than Lucas Vazquez, because even Valverde nowadays has taken up this sort of deepish role where he's more of a pivot in midfield. He's not going out on that right hand side anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't go because Vazquez needs to win.
Exactly. So Rodrigo, when he does come into the game, drifting onto the left or centrally, or when Bellingham, moves over to the right, I feel like he makes some very slick combinations.
Yeah.
But apart from that, you just need somebody around, in his vicinity to link with him, because he's not going to make those runs out of nowhere.
Yeah. The link up between Jude and Rodrigo, if you remember, the 1-2, right? That Rodrigo kind of skied it.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that again, the end product wasn't there. But the signs of him linking well are there. It's just you need to create this right sort of environment, and it doesn't mean you take Jude away from where Vinicius and Mbappe are. That's certainly not the solution. But you need more like presence around Rodrigo, so you can link with, because otherwise Mbappe is either isolated or he's reluctant to drift out to the right, because he won't give up his position in the box, and as such he's not maintaining that too much of a box presence. So when the ball does go out to the right, he wants
zero box presence, zero.
Exactly. When the ball is on the left, there's nothing. But when it does
mm,
go out to the right, he's seen lurking around the box at least, so he doesn't want to give that up. So
mm,
when Bellingham does come around, I think that's when it benefits Rodrigo the most.
yeah.
But apart from that, it's just him trying to come inside and play on the left. And then even when he does come onto the left, I don't think it feels like there's too many players on the left, like more often than not.
Mm,
Sometimes it does,
mm.
but most times it doesn't to me.
Like I'll tell you this very honestly, right? Rodrigo
Yeah.
has a has a huge mental block. That's what I think the case is,
Okay.
because if you look at the whole, Fly Emirates airplane charade,
Yeah, he's not on there.
he's not on there. Like how is he going to cope with that?
Mm.
Like, I'll be very honest. The most uh, humble souls among us, when they are put in a situation like what Rodrigo is in right now, they would be intimidated by what they're seeing. On a professional level, on a human level, he is really, praying that he finds some light, because the more this kind of lingers, I feel like there will be no way back for him.
Mm. And
Like
we have to
I like
remember that again,
mm,
Sunet, he's not a young player anymore, right? He's now what,
yeah,
24, turned the other day. So
yeah.
you have to keep that in mind.
Mm. Your birthday wishes to Rodrigo. He's my love. Mi amor. He is my go-to guy. I just
Mm.
hope he just turns this around, because he gets ample chances. He, like you said, he when he gets the ability, I mean, when he gets the opportunity to link up with his front line, he does it effectively.
Yeah.
If you remember, like, he had a pretty effective, you know, uh, darting run uh, by the byline on the right. Like,
Yeah.
if he finds a teammate on the square pass, it's a tap in. Like, he can turn it on a dime um, when he's on it. But um, as of late, the injury, the stop start nature of the season has completely been wearing down on Rodrigo, and he doesn't look like he's on the way back up. I hope there is lift off. I mean, the goal would help. Goal
Yeah.
is a brilliant finish. You know.
And also, and not just the goal, even Jude's goal was, I think it was mostly made by Rodrigo's run from our own half. He ran the
Oh
length of the
yeah.
pitch, gave it to
Oh yeah.
Vinicius, and then the pass
Oh yeah.
came. And then somebody hit the post, I think, him up, and then came back to Jude.
But I
Uh,
think Rodrigo tries to get on the end of the cross, but I think it's straight at the keeper or some shit. I can't remember. It's
yeah, one hits
it's
the
it was
post,
crazy.
one came off the keeper, and then Jude taps it in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean,
But
he
yeah.
makes one goal basically and scores another at the end when
Mm-hmm.
Mallorca basically switched off. So, I think he's there. Is the mental side to his game is yet to come back to where it was before.
Mm-hmm.
You can clearly see it in the way he's not finishing chances with the same sort of fluency he used to
Yeah.
start of his career.
Yeah.
But again, that is something that can be worked on with the coaching staff and the players around him.
I don't know. I just hope it gets better ASAP, because
Yeah, it's that
I
and the
mean,
positional issue. It's
mm,
two things coming in at once. So
mm. But if you remember, like all throughout his Madrid career, he has been on the right. I mean, we can't make that excuse anymore. It's been what, 5 6 years now, bro. Come on, he has
yes,
to.
but he's never been more alone than this. He's always had somebody coming over to him and linking with him,
Oh
and
yeah, that's true.
basically
That's true.
inviting him inside.
That's true.
We don't have a Benzema to do that anymore. Again, yeah,
Mm.
Benzema today was watching from the stands.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh, did you see his goal against Hilal yesterday? It's
no,
good.
but I saw the highlight that you posted on your story.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He's been good. He's been good. But yeah, I agree with that. But I'm running out of patience with Rodrigo. Ashik was mentioning, I don't think Rodrigo was too bad today. He was getting in the box, took some attempts. Of course, we expect more from him because we know he has quality, but he seems very timid. He is a killer. He used to be the killer, He used to be the killer. Hopefully he turns it around. But yeah, since we are on it, I know we brushed past the first goal, but we'll get to Jude in a sec. But the second goal is, was Brahim. Nice move, but it was an own goal. Mbappe couldn't really get to that. But the third goal, Vasquez style, we see a lot of mentions about Trent being the best crosser in the world. I've been very keen on putting Vasquez, not maybe on that level, but he isn't really far off when he's putting in balls on a plate like this, and we have seen this from Vasquez for the last decade or so.
Yeah, both
It is basically the best on our team, right? In terms of crosses.
And isn't it weird how we've got an immensely great passer of the ball, crosser of the ball on the right hand side, and on the left hand side we've got somebody who's allergic to crossing. So that imbalance.
Allergic to crossing. Oh yeah, the Mendy, right? Yeah.
So that imbalance always puts me off. But yeah, Vasquez serves it on a platter, and Mallorca's defense by that point, like I mentioned, they completely switched off. And Rodrigo sniffs one out, manages to remain onside, taps it in, deserved goal. Anything less than 3-0 would have felt like we went away with something, less than what we worked for.
100%.
But yeah, thankfully that was the scoreline by the end of it. And yeah, you know what? Midway through the game, actually, when Tchouaméni went off, I was wondering if, certainly Tchouaméni is too good a player, too good a midfielder for this to happen to him. But what if Tchouaméni's career also goes down the Vasquez trajectory? What if he's not good enough to make a mark for himself in his, in his natural position, and he ends up just being a second choice centre back? You see that happening?
I mean, a lot of greats of the game, have gone down that route. You look at Emmanuel Petit, you look at Rijkaard, you look at Coleman. There are so many examples right there who basically had to kind of move back to find a solid place in the starting lineup, and they took it with aplomb and turned out to be pretty good careers in every regard, right? They're considered legends of the game. So Tchouaméni can certainly do that,
and he had a solid game today. But the thing is,
I know
the price tag that comes with it, we paid 70 million for a midfielder, not a second choice centre back, right?
I know, but we are here, right? We are in 2025. He came in 2022, so it's a foregone conclusion that that he's gonna be with us, and he adds something definitively worthy enough to kind of take a punt at this setup, because maybe with the Stoner test it might be under scrutiny, but until then this seems like it is the way forward, right? Because this guy we have mentioned, he really switches off in midfield. And now we see this, the Camavinga, Ceballos, Fede equation. It looks pretty solid, right? At least for now.
Well balanced.
Yeah. We were on Vasquez, then we talked about Tchouaméni. But yeah, that whole thing, Vasquez, Tchouaméni, they'll be facing a lot of heat in the coming months. I hope they're up for it. Because like Sensio is there waiting on the wings, but I do really think the Vasquez situation is going to be a problem for us to really, really have nightmares about come the big Champions League games. Yeah, it's a situation that we have to really think about in the January transfer window. But there hasn't been any news coming in. Nobody seems to be really concerned about any of that.
Yeah. The results seem to be going our way. And every year it does seem like in December we have this sort of fallout, and then come January there are a few targets being discussed, but this year it's just different. I don't know why that is the case, but the club doesn't seem to be generating anything on its own either. Like nothing coming out of Madrid. Okay, I think the last one was Lamine Fati and we got him.
Yeah,
that's not really a major signing,
It's just for the future, but
Mm.
it is going to be some nervy shit, man. I'm not ready for it,
I think from
honestly.
now up until either one of Trent
Mm,
or Alfonso Davies comes out, I don't think there's going to
mm,
be any.
mm. Right. Talking about Kamavinga, he was on pretty decent in
Yeah,
terms of distribution. We know that he can drive with the ball, but uh, he just showed, I think, different shades of what he has evolved into ever since we got him on for what nine, got him on for what 20 million and 19. It is really something. It is really something to look at in terms of his evolution as a midfielder because um like was it a couple of post matches before tonight's that I mentioned that like we need some threat of distance in terms of shots and whatnot. Like I saw him taking a couple of curlers from outside the box
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
whatnot. So he's really going for it. I'm happy about that.
And his versatility is what makes him such a beast. Like
Mm,
he's this guy who can on his day be your best left back. He can be
yeah.
a solid eight. Uh, but his best position is six, and he's really giving Chouameni something to think about
Mm,
when he does come back to midfield. So
yeah.
when we do have two fit proper centre backs,
Yeah.
Chouameni is going to be competing with Kamavinga again, and it's the same thing we talked about again. The differentiator, has he progressed enough since the beginning of his career in Madrid to really stake a claim for that spot?
Mm, mm.
Kamavinga has, Chouameni hasn't, and Kamavinga can fill other roles, and we've known that for
Yeah.
a long time. Chouameni, as it so turns out, can also play at centre back. He's pretty handy there, but he's almost too handy.
But do you
Like
think it's just the work ethic, Zahil, that sets Kamavinga apart from Chomeni? Or is it also
it's
that
one of
this
the few things, yes.
mm, there is some that there is a definite sprinkle of
Difference, yeah.
gold dust with
So the
Kamavinga
work
when
ethic and
he
the versatility, that's the
mm,
two things that sets Kamavinga apart.
on the ball, Kamavinga is a lot more silkier,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. We always thought Giovanni from his time with the French national team to be this, this orchestrator or this distributor of the ball, but he's
Mm,
definitely not recreated anything of that sort
mm,
uh, in our colors. So Kamavinga, and also he's an exceptional carrier of the ball. Kamavinga,
yeah,
Giovanni is
yeah.
nowhere near that.
Mm,
Right? Even when
mm,
he doesn't have a pass on, even when he doesn't have combinations to play, he can move the ball forward with just at his feet, and it's
yeah,
very difficult to knock him off the ball as well.
yeah. That's why he's
Tchouaméni,
so effective,
yeah,
right? Coming off the
I think
bench,
he's too
Kamavinga.
static in that sense. I think if
Mm,
he can't play a pass, then you've basically got him, deadlocked. You forced him
mm.
either into an error or a back pass. So yeah, that's the thing that sets him apart.
Very assured. The question now, where we will be finding out the uh, the answer to it in the coming months. It is sort of the title bout, right? It is sort of the championship fight, basically,
Right.
between Kamavinga and Ceballos going into the final phase of the season. It's going to be them two fighting it out to be that you know uh, to be next to Fede in that slot in our pivot because um, the more we see Danny Ceballos, it really makes us think, oh yeah, this might be finally a season. But then there is Kamavinga. I mean, it's good to have that conundrum,
It's healthy
right?
competition,
Sahil,
certainly. Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
It's healthy competition because these are two players who are fighting for two different profiles and they're not really the same sort of player. So
mhm.
Kamavinga, you would want to ideally bring on from the bench in a game that you want to win and you want to go ahead.
Ceballos from the bench isn't
Ceballos,
really ideal, right, Sahil?
yeah, and Ceballos, you can bring him on in a game that you want to finish off. Like you want to close out the game
To
and
see
you
out,
want to
yeah,
have,
yeah.
yeah, you want more of the ball
Hmm.
and you want to see possession circulated, and that's what Ceballos brings to the table. So
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding the right kind of match and finding the
yeah.
right kind of situation for either one of them to start. Because I think it's going to be pretty like even Stevens for them
Mm,
to from now till the end of the
mhm.
season. Because Ceballos, I think he's even done enough consistently now to really stake a claim for that spot.
Hmm.
But you can't go without Kamavinga's energy, right? The drive he brings to the team is remarkable. So
100%.
either one of them, I wouldn't mind. It's just which one of them would you play in the right situation? And we had this conversation before at the beginning of the season with Modric.
Yeah.
Right? You need to find the right kind of game to play him in or start him in.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you cannot manage a 39-year-old, 40-year-old,
Yeah. Yeah.
adequately. And I think Carlos done pretty much that. And did he have a knock or why wasn't he in the squad?
Modric had a flu or something.
Ah,
Something.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see him on the bench, so
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
It's
Modric's there fighting for that spot. Again, not fighting, but like yeah, he knows what game he's going to play.
Modric from the bench is really effective. Really, really effective. I think he's very underrated from the bench. The kind of impact he has in games
Yeah.
that we need some
We saw it
impact,
just
right?
last
So
week.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, us beating two filthy teams in a week is definitely something to celebrate. Um, yeah.
And another
Um,
one,
hmm.
hopefully, in a couple of days.
Barcelona, I wouldn't classify them as absolute
Yeah.
filth. You know, they're
Well,
very close to
you know what I mean.
it. Very close to it. Very close to it. Um, but yeah, the random guy was mentioning Ala Madrid. Ashik was mentioning Alaba in return can cover left back, and Asensio can get to play centre back. Alaba at left back is a thing of ancient history. I'll tell you that straight up, Ashik, because he wouldn't be able to cope up with the physical demands
Mhm.
of that position anymore. Ashik was also mentioning Rafinha is probably the only one with some brain in that club. He's the only one who mentioned that Olmo and poor registration can impact other players negatively and negatively impact their finances as well. Right. Okay. I think I read a few of the other comments. Yeah, Mafia back to irrelevancy until the next time Real Madrid plays against Mallorca. Right.
Yeah. Or
Okay. I
till
can't.
someone brings up what Messi said about him.
I'm
I can't believe he said
right.
that. Like you face so many other defenders. Come on.
Right. Ashik, I'll try to read this out, but I suck at Spanish. La camiseta del Real Madrid es blanca, se puede manchar de barro, sudor y hasta de sangre, pero jamás de vergüenza. I hope I hope it stays the same, man. Our shirt doesn't get stained by any sort of shame. We just keep
See.
at it. We just keep at it. The season is long. Season is long. But talking about Jude, man, Sahil. Since
Hmm.
November 1st, he has turned it on, right? I think after the Clasico loss, I think he has just taken it on himself to be the team's numero uno, the guy everyone looks up to, the guy
I think
who
so.
is a very vocal leader, who is so determined to carry this team on his shoulders. He can definitely see Vinny alongside him, right? But
Hmm.
Vinny is that person that we all know can lose it any moment, especially if things aren't really going his way on a particular night. But Jude Bellingham is that calm, assured voice that calls out to his teammate, that calls out to the occasion, and he just has a penchant for turning up when the lights are the brightest, right? People used to kind of beat him with the stick, you know, with the stick of zero knockout goals, or like him not having major goals in terms of uh, the major clump of the semi-finals or the quarterfinals. But we all know without his performances, we are going nowhere,
We wouldn't be
right?
there. Yeah.
And his finishing, Sahil again. I mean, he has to be our natural striker, right? Like, what is really preventing us from really going all out on that? I know we lose some of his quality um, in defense, but if we get someone who is as good as Jude Bellingham in terms of being a midfielder, then we can surely think about him being a striker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is it really? Um,
Having a silky smooth midfielder like that who can also finish
Yeah.
extremely well. You can also
Mm.
run back and do the dirty work.
Yeah.
It is something of a privilege, yeah. And don't get me wrong, but like managing that, but also has to be very difficult because you don't know exactly which of his attributes. You don't always know exactly which of his attributes are best suited to whatever situation we are in the game. So
Mm.
I think Carlo does a great job with that. All credits to him, and also Jude himself. I think the way his composure and the way he manages himself on the pitch is nothing short of astounding. Like very commendable, man. Because the moment when he decides to turn it on, Real Madrid are completely fluent in possession. We haven't allowed Mallorca, a whisker in the game. Those
Yeah.
10, 12 minutes when he's completely unsound. Uh, and Jude, man, Jude, heart and soul of this team, the living, working heartbeat of this team. The moment
Mm.
you take them out, you will notice a big difference going
Yeah.
forward, coming back, always.
There is a gaping hole when he's missing, and it's not just a tangible presence. It's something mental as well, because the team really it really suffers psychologically also without Jude Bellingham. He just, like, the more we think about it, man, Vinicius is already there, but I do think Jude Bellingham is on the same on the same wavelength as of Cristiano. I mean, Cristiano is an astronomical uh, figure in terms of guaranteed, goals, guaranteed match impact, right? But Jude
Mentality.
Bellingham, the more we see of him, he's right there.
Yeah, and his mentality again comes through with every performance, every goal,
Mm.
every time he,
Yeah.
encourages the fans to make more
Mm.
noise. And I think up until December, it was all dry in terms of goals, right?
Mm.
He was on
Mhm.
a sort of a goal drought, and then
Mm.
suddenly after December, he's been scoring almost
But
every
I
month.
do think, Sahil, the coaching team, they really let him be free.
Hmm.
Like, I do think, bro, if you remember, like, I know you and me, we aren't really managers, right? We don't
Yeah.
have the video footage at our disposal to kind of micro analyze what happened between October and now.
Hmm.
But if my memory serves me right, Jude Bellingham had a much deeper role, right? He
He
had
did, yeah.
yeah, and he had a lot more positional
Rigidity. Yeah.
rigidity. Yeah, in with regards to how his complementary blocks were set up in the team. Like, I do think the Clasico debacle kind of forced Carlos' hand, made them go revert back to basics, revert back to what worked so well last season, make Jude a lot more. Uh,
False nine, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have to be a false nine. I do think it is all about his
Well, essentially, we've got two
freedom.
false nines
Who's the
because
other false nine?
because Mbappe is just not
Oh
really a
yeah,
complete striker.
he's not a
He's
false nine.
false
He's a
striker.
negative nine. He isn't really false, to be even pretentious. I
False
mean, let's
striker.
be honest.
So
I don't consider Mbappe to be anything related to
no, that was
being a center forward or striker.
a joke at him. But anyway, I think two things have
Right.
happened. I think two things have happened since
Right.
Carlos realized that it's not really
Mm.
working with regards to the
Mm.
balance of the team, and he's gone too far behind and counteracting,
Mm. Mm.
what Mbappe's presence would bring at the start
Yeah.
of the season.
Yeah.
And I think one of them has certainly been Valverde's, uh, readiness to contribute and stay at, you know, the stay with the double pivot and
Hmm.
not really venture too far out because you see his limited, contribution to the attack
Yeah.
as compared to what it was last season. So
Mm.
Valverde's willingness to, do something for the team or like take a hit for the team uh,
Yeah.
was one of those things. And the other thing was Kamavinga's return from injury. I think that
Mm.
really
Mm.
boosted Kamavinga's return from injury, coinciding with Ceballos' uprising in form. So
Yeah.
that really means that you can have a double pivot that you can trust game after game, and one you didn't have to change. So Chouameni went to
Yeah.
centre back, and we didn't have any imbalances there because
Mm.
Chouameni was really the weak link all the way throughout that first half of the season, up until when we really had
That's a very valid point. Yeah.
we had serious doubts about the defensive capabilities of our midfield. Right,
Mm.
we were never questioning Valverde. And again, Camavinga was injured up until that point, but we were
Yeah.
always in two minds about Chouameni. And good for him, he found sort of a temporary starting berth at centre
And
back.
Militao was, although he was kind of looking like he was on his way back, was also
Hmm.
having some shocking games.
Difficulties, yeah,
Oh,
definitely,
yeah.
up until he got injured.
Mm,
So
mm, mm,
I think it's a combination of all these things, and I don't think we will see Jude, revert back to that deepish role because now we've found good balance.
mhm,
And the only issue now is when Germany does, eventually have to inevitably play in midfield again. Where do you fit him
mm.
in, or do
Yeah.
you fit him in at all?
Mm,
Right.
mm, mm.
That's the only
Good,
question.
good question to have. But
Yeah, but from that,
just
Jude, I
just
think he's found
just
his.
finishing. What was that, sorry?
Nothing. I just said Jude he's found his rhythm, and also the
Yeah.
goals and assists have come along at a good
And the
time.
runs he makes, he just is the only guy who just makes it a mission whenever he's on the pitch to kind of force players to play balls in behind because he makes
Yeah.
darting runs from deep,
Hmm.
and it's so effective. It's so effective. It's such a textbook move that like I don't know how many of you guys actually played football on a professional level, but even the amateurs, even when we used to play seven aside, that's the most basic thing to do. Most times people get picked off, or we are offside or
Yeah.
whatnot, but
Or you
um
pull a defender away.
yeah, you just make space for your teammates, or just caught someone off guard sleeping. It's just the most effective, in my opinion, the most effective technique there
Yeah.
is, and sometimes you can't really teach that.
But you can
Jude
notice it.
Bellingham. Mm,
And the kind of video footage evidence that you spoke about at the beginning, if
yeah.
you really try and nitpick what Jude does over the period of 90 minutes, you'll notice what impact those little movements have.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
it
100%.
doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Might on
Yeah,
our
yeah.
on our on our part, but the coaching stuff definitely notices those kinds of things.
Mm. Thank God for Jude Bellingham, man. I'll just state this again. So many people were here doubting whether he could really, have an impact. But here we are, three years later. We are just looking at a guy who is stepping up to the task, and delivering with such assurance that speaks well beyond his age. Let's hope he carries us towards another Champions League and a league title minimum to close out the season. But yeah, good signs, good signs. But I think that's pretty much it. Ashik was mentioning Ceballos is better than any MLS players. Remember, Busquets is an MLS player. I have no idea why we dragged Busquets into this, but yeah. Any last thoughts, Sahil, quickly?
No, I'm just excited to you know
Mm.
witness the final because we're going to we're definitely going to be a step ahead of what we were when we played the Clasico,
Yeah.
and the thirst for revenge is definitely there. Like
Hmm.
I want
Hmm.
the players out hunting for blood, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the same kind of attitude we went with at Mallorca. I want
Hmm.
that to be replicated against Barca. And yeah, we just we can't afford to go back to Spain with an injury because the
Hmm.
league title is yet to be won.
Yeah.
But the trophy would be nice.
Hundred
So
percent.
we'll see
Hundred
you at
percent.
the end of the Super Copa.
Hopefully, with the trophy in hand, right? I mean, although it doesn't hold much value, winning it would do this team a lot of good.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have mid-season.
100%. Nice thing to have.
Yeah, nice
Sahil,
trophy to have. Sorry.
nice trophy to have. I mean, this feeling would carry on into the season. Like if you remember, I know we had a shitty Leipzig tie in general, but the confidence was carried over from Jan into that pivotal 3-4 months that we saw out at the tail end of last season. This will be a good litmus test. Barcelona, like you said, are in some sort of a situation where they're kind of faced up with this crossroads. It might look like they have lost the plot, but if they win this, they would completely change the narrative, right?
And
And
they
take
already have one
momentum
up
with
on
it.
us this season, head to head.
100%. The 4-0, no matter how we disregard the whole thing now, a month later it looks different, the equation, but it still is a heavy blow that they dealt us. I hope we can do the same. I hope we can do the same that we did last season as well. Ashik mentioned Real Madrid doesn't lose finals. Remember that, and that Laporta would be wise to remember that as well. Fatty Crook, he called Laporta. Hopefully we get to have some bragging rights on Sunday. But yeah, big up people in the chat, big up people who are going to be tuning in later as well. Big up all our audio listeners for constantly showing your love and support over the last 3.5-4 years. It's been super humbling, super nice hearing people tell us that we accompany them on their daily routines, when morning jogs, while they're cooking, while they're driving. It's super nice that you guys remind us that we take time out of our busy lives and get here and do this on the regular, despite us handling people have kids, man, people have lives, people are going to uni. Sahil is actually in uni right now. There are people among us who does work and and still carry their uni uh, workload and whatnot. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not straightforward, especially with us being in different continents and whatnot. So really appreciate the love. It's super nice, super humbling. Go check out our partners, LBA20, to get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Go check out Fanatics. The link is in the description below. Show some love to Talksport. This podcast and everything on LBR is sponsored by the Talksport Fan Network, powered by the fans. I'm not sure about the preview. There might be, a preview tomorrow. I really want to confirm it with Jacob for the Clásico. Hopefully Omar is free as well and we get him on board. But yeah, if not, we'll see you for the post match. And hopefully, we are here smiling and with the trophy in our cabinet, another trophy in our cabinet, actually. But until next time, people. Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.